Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning to you and you and you and you and ooh. That's it. I'm not going to sing anymore.
Get out from under the table. Get out from under the table. No, it just looks very strange because you're singing, but we can't see anyone. Hey, hello, everyone. How are you all?
Good morning, everyone.
We're a little more rested. We were all exhausted last night. How are you? First things first, as I just saw a couple of comments there, I've just got to make this point. I hope Kizzy is found the help that she needed last night. Obviously, she was struggling, and for anyone else, if you go under last night's live, there is a emergency number, or a 24-hour number for Alcoholics Anonymous, and also a number for the Samaritans. People don't often know that there is an AA number, a helpline AA number.
I didn't know that.
That you can call and is manned by volunteers, absolutely.
Really?
So, yeah.
You should man that.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I'm thinking of manning it. So Tim Reed, hi, how are you, Squire? You know how important that was. So hopefully she got some help. It's very hard, isn't it? It's very difficult in a live situation when obviously we're here to kind of do everything, and then obviously someone comes on. You also know that on the one hand they're calling out for help, but on the other you kind of need to steer them off and get them to more meaningful help than some Burke at the end of a camera who's very sympathetic and experienced but can only really do so much from here. You need professional help. So I hope that worked for her last night. But yeah, lovely that all of you, this lovely community, all there. Hi, FIFA boy Darren. Yes, we've missed you. You were all swelled around that person and looked after them. It was really nice. So thank you. I've put in the title today, bored to tears, because I'm really bored of the word tear. I'm really bored of seeing it. I'm really bored of thinking of it. I'm really bored of the numbers that come after it. And I'm really bored of people having arguments about which one they're going to be in. And on that note, I'm so bored to tears, I'm going to go and get my coffee.
Are you going to cry?
Yeah.
I don't know about any of you lot, but we just keep saying over and over again, sorry, let me just do, oh, we're tier 2. We know we're tier 2. We're going to go a horrible shock if we're not tier 2. I think we've got to start preparing ourselves.
Yeah, we will if we're not, but we're going to be, so that's fine.
But you don't know that, Mark.
Oh, we do.
Why?
Because it's being reported everywhere. Liverpool and London are going to be in tier 2.
Well, I think after this year, I find it difficult to trust anything, don't you?
What do you mean, yeah.
Because you think one thing's going to happen, then so often another
really
does.
Hard to trust you.
Ha ha ha.
Yes, so I think tier 2
Becky Brumfield's tier 3. Dawn Clarico. Did you?
What?
Oh, Dawn saw me and Simon Rimmer yesterday. You know, we did the Hot Point cooker thing. Where did you see it? Online? Hi Chelsea Girl, hi Lynn Butler, hi Emma Staple, hi Anthony Webster, Derry Shaw, Helena Marino, Becca Camp. Cookies for breakfast. Look what we're having. Green juice. So I'm doing Loose Women today, but I'm doing it from home, obviously. So we're vlogging our day on a Loose Women day. So, yeah. Because it is very different, obviously, from doing it in the studio. And as I was just saying on Instagram, today is Linda Robson's Life Before Loose, and it's going to be so good. Chelsea Girl, don't do a green face. Green juice is lovely. It's so fresh. Don't you think it's lovely?
Yes, I mean, one of the downsides of Loose Women happening here is it disrupts absolutely everything else for everyone else, because all the technology gets harnessed. Nadia runs around screaming for everyone's phones, everyone's earphones, where's this phone, where's that tripod, I can't work, I can't write. It's hard to do homeschooling, and the whole house is in total disarray. So I know it might be nice
for an hour.
Not
it's
really,
an hour.
No, and then all the pre-meetings and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of nice having you around. But tier 3 and Hull, I hear Hull is an absolute nightmare.
Really?
As is Exeter is going through the roof. Apparently the Nightingale in Exeter is having to be used and employed.
Really?
Yeah. It's going up quite quickly in the south. But this kind of makes me begin to wonder whether that theory that we've had for a while is that everywhere needs to go through its difficult moment.
I was saying this to Kay the other day. I said, sometimes I see this virus like a hungry monster, and it's going to eat a certain amount of meals, and that's it. And I don't mean by death, I mean that, but just by infection. It feels like that. It feels like there's a certain amount of work it's going to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. And it feels like if an area hasn't been, in a sense, ravaged by it, it's got to be. I mean, even Sweden and Finland. I mean, you know how much we were saying Sweden.
Sweden is still
Sweden, no, well, there's lots of stories today saying that Sweden, a lot of polls in Sweden believe that most people in Sweden feel that it's running out of control over there. And Finland is struggling. So, and Germany, the numbers have gone up again too. So it's almost like every country has parts of it that it hasn't run ragged through. And I think, you know, so that's not to say that if you haven't had it, you're going to get it. But I think there is a little bit of that.
I've always said, haven't I worry about New Zealand because they, you know, will it do its thing at some point? But the thing is now, if the vaccine comes and they've managed to hold it off, then they really are going to.
Well, there was an interesting story. I was talking last night about, obviously it's Thanksgiving today. Any Americans, happy Thanksgiving. And what we're being offered with Thanksgiving, we did it extensively last night, was the fact that in many regards, many people in America are saying Thanksgiving is going to, you know, Judy Phillips, I follow it, was saying it's going to cause chaos as families.
I was listening to John Campbell yesterday on this saying he's really worried.
But and this is an awful thing to say, it's going to provide us with a dress rehearsal as to what's going to happen after Christmas.
Yeah.
Because Thanksgiving in America for the next 48 hours is going to be just like our 5 days when we all kind of go, right.
I realise I don't actually know. What do you think about the government doing what they've done?
What?
With Christmas?
I think someone said last night, Boris could not have been the Grinch that stole Christmas.
But I think they've completely undermined their messaging, like batshit crazy.
Well, there's two problems.
The more I've thought about this...
But there's two problems here. Whatever they say, people are going to do whatever they want.
But the more I've thought about this, the more I think what they've done is actually wrong.
Say it.
Because I think that it's almost like they knew a certain amount of people were going to do what they wanted. So they didn't want to not have the glory of saying you can have Christmas. But how do you then get back people back on the track when you've said, I mean, they're giving over 5 days when people can mix in households and do all of that. I think it's going to be disastrous.
So what would you do if you were them?
I would say it's a really tough, this is a really tough time. There's no doubt about it. This is grossly unfair what's happening to the world. We have a vaccine now. We have got to just knuckle down again. There'll be many more Christmases and that's that.
You've changed your tune.
Because I just worry, like, how do they get people back on message afterwards?
Do you want me to tell you how they're going to get people back on message? There's going to be catastrophic statistics.
No.
I mean...
I think a lot of people,
I kind of figured we all knew that.
Apparently 70% of people think Boris is mad to have done what he's done. And a lot of people are saying they are not going to change their plans, which is to have a very small Christmas, which is what we're going to do. We're not going to have a big Christmas, are we?
I do think that an enormous amount of faith is being put in the idea that a lot of people or enough people are going to be vaccinated by Christmas. I think what we've had is news flow that's very well. I think the news flow has been very confusing.
But it takes a good month for it to kick in.
Yeah,
You've got to have
absolutely.
2 injections.
No, I know, but I think in a sense even the government have got overexcited about the vaccine news, and I think everyone is sort of feeling that the word talk of vaccines everywhere, and yet implementation of vaccines is nothing. There's a really stark and worrying story coming out of America that says that something like nearly 50% of Americans won't take a vaccine. That's what they're worried now. And if they don't, there's no way you can essentially vaccinate America.
Right.
So translate that to other countries. So, yes, it's.
But they have their ways, don't they, of making people have a vaccination. You can't go to school, you can't work.
Well, yeah, and they are talking about potentially having
John
to introduce...
Jenkins, sorry you're suffering.
Oh, John Jenkins, yeah, Louise Jones.
Arthritis.
Hello. Yeah. Be nursed and nurse yourself. It's an unholy mess because at the same time I'm inclined to agree with you. How can it in any way, the science, this coronavirus has no acknowledgement of the fact that it's a Christmas day and that we are social beings that all want to gather on Christmas Day. So once again, as has been the case all the way through this crisis, there is no consistency with the science.
Exactly, and that's why I think they've undermined themselves. They've got an own goal. Faith Goodman says there, why couldn't they have just made it for Christmas Day? Why do they have to make it for 5 days? And I think the reason for that is because people are travelling, and that in itself, crisscrossing across the country. I think, is that really wise? Now, I do think university students should be allowed to come home. Absolutely, they totally should be. They've had a really hard time. I really worry for the mental health of young people. But really, I mean, If we had family, right, in Sheffield, for instance, that we had every Christmas come over, we don't. But I would definitely be saying to them, we can't do it this Christmas, wouldn't you?
Gabrielle's saying it's only one Christmas that we will lose in our lifetime. People should make the sacrifice for 1 year.
Exactly.
Jade Louisa.
And you know what? Everyone can make it special. You know, it's like our birthdays. We had low expectations and we had lovely birthdays.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you just fit your cloth. You cut your cloth, don't you?
Just so they don't fly off. PhD Pickles. Already members of my family are saying they won't stick to the 3 household rule. All of the travelling is going to be a disaster. And Jade Louisa says, this is really true. So they've given this announcement, they've given this news. They're very lackadaisical, aren't they? And very sort of, it's a bit of hearsay. They need to introduce messages if they're going to do this, like open the windows when family is there, keep your distance. You're right, there should be, rather than seeing the one set of rules about, you know, that you get on Sky News and everything all the time, all this stuff about, which is all good, you know, what the disease is. There should be I think there needs to be a new press push to sort of saying, have Christmas, have a safe Christmas, not a white Christmas, have a safe Christmas. They need to get
John Campbell out there. Can we interview John Campbell one day on here? He loves to have a chat.
Yeah, I mean, he might think we're a pair of total morons.
But wouldn't it be great?
Yeah.
No, I think he really loves to do a chat with other people.
He loves a natter.
And it's like I've been asked to do a charity thing, you know, for lovely, well, anyway, I haven't told you about that yet, but a charity thing, host a charity event. And I said yes straight away. And then all I'm thinking of is, I should have said, before I said yes, I should have said, will the room be ventilated? Can I open a window? Because it's such a strong message out there now. You must not be in a room without a window open if you're with people outside of your bubble. And yet we're not hearing that enough. I haven't heard Boris say that once.
No, not at all.
And this is fact now. I mean, they know this. If you think about it, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the messaging again is a bit warped. People have got overexcited.
It's incomplete. It's incomplete. There's no consistency. It's not robust. It's a bit of this, it's a bit of that, and it's a bit of how's your father. And you know, I mean, a huge part of the decisions they're making is about trying to be popular, about not sort of being, you know, not sort of, you know, keeping morale going. But we're all so punch drunk with this year. I think if you were to say to us, do you know what, we're just clipping Christmas off the end of this year too, we'd all go, all right, whatever, let's get on with 2021. Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I think so.
I've got a real idea. I'm going to contact John Campbell and see if he'll do, you know, like we do with Lee. I'm going to ask him. He might say no.
Why don't you ask him?
And we could get you all to ask questions.
Why don't you ask him to do it, and you could do it in bed, because that's where you listen to him all the time. You could be in bed chatting with John Campbell, and then my sort of...
Because he gets really frustrated.
My sense of being cuckolded will be complete.
He goes on like telly programs all of it, and he gets really frustrated because it's all so quick.
Yeah.
You know, and he likes to have a really nice long conversation and go into the detail.
Because lots of really important stuff in the entire world of being a human isn't a Twitter length.
It's always a bit frustrating on the television because it's very quick. It's always very quick. And and I watch him and I know he's got so much more to say on whatever topic and they move him on, you know.
That's why I like podcasts. That's why we like... Our podcast lands tomorrow, guys. It's a funny one. It's all about what you hate or what we hate in a sort of jokey way. About being parents.
Being parents, but what are the things that we just
What do we love to hate? What are our pet hates and frustrations with being parents? But then also the teenagers tell us exactly what they think of us.
Very funny.
Very funny.
Lisa's Colitos is hilarious.
As is
I
Maddie.
texted him actually, and I said, thank you so much for your contribution. I said, Mark and I were laughing so hard. He went, oh no, really? I don't think he thought it was supposed to be
he was
funny.
laughing himself. He was laughing himself.
Morning, Lee. Lee, we've got to talk later.
Lee. Hi, Lee. Bored to tears. I'm bored to tears with tears. Tears for fears, fears for tears, tears of a clown. Bored of them.
We knew it would end in tears.
What do we want to go to? Let's talk about Joe Wicks. Danny Dyer brands Joe Wicks fucking irritating and wins the 2020 Unpopular Opinion Award.
Oh my God, you can't. That's like saying Jesus is.
I wouldn't want to have a one-on-one with him, like going to play snooker. I reckon he'd be shit at it, he says. Danny Dyer has branded Joe Wicks as effing irritating in a rant about fitness fanatics. His words are unlikely to go down well with body coach millions. Yeah, me included. The EastEnders star did concede that Joe's heart is in the right place, but admitted he wouldn't want to hang out with him personally. Well, I'm sure Joe wouldn't want to hang out with you.
I bet you anything. Right, mark my words, it's been said here first. Very soon, we're going to see...
Danny
the two
Dyer
of them together.
Do you reckon?
Yes. Because Joe Wicks will just approach him on that.
Oh, right, okay. I love Joe for that. He's such a kind of proactive dude. Speaking on his sort. Well, I quite like Danny Dyer until he said this. Speaking on his Sorted with the Dyers podcast, Danny said, I've met a lot of people who are healthy as F, and I look at their bodies and I go, look at you, you're ripped. I go, wow. Then they open their mouth and they've absolutely got no charisma and dialogue whatsoever. I've never met a really fit, healthy man who's not fucking irritating. This is going to be an unpopular opinion. And then he says, Joe Wicks. I'm not going to be nasty about him. The man's heart is in the right place, but everything about... Okay, you know, putting Joe Wicks aside, and this is why I kind of wanted to talk about this, I'm kind of inclined to agree a little bit with Danny, actually. But I just don't think it's true about Joe. Maybe it is because he's jealous of his body and his hair. Do you think? It might be?
No.
That's what he said. Danny Dyer says, maybe it's because I'm jealous of his body or his hair. Could be. He's just jealous, says Philippa Wallace Dunlop. Nicholas Sinnott, I love Danny Dyer. I've had a crush on him for 4 years. I'll do my Danny Dyer in a minute. Sorry, I find Danny Dyer effing irritating.
Mark, what was that programme? Mark always hated Danny Dyer. And then one day we watched this programme, didn't we? We'd had it on Catch
World's
Up.
Most Dangerous Men.
Oh my God, and we were howling.
There is nothing...
And then you started to love him after that.
I adored him. I mean, there's nothing more relatable and humanising than seeing a hard man shit himself. And he was genuine. He was funny, he was real, and so yeah, I completely...
Honestly, try and find it, guys.
I really turned round. He really turned me round. So I really liked him. He does go on, Danny Dyer, to say, despite being naturally turned in my younger years, I now hate me man boobs. It's a problem for men trying to get rid of the pecs, especially when you were fit. If as a man you were fit, or, you know, I mean, I used to work out when I was younger, you don't keep it up, the fitness, you know, muscle turns to fat, as Yoda says, and fat leads to suffering. So Danny goes on to remind us that he used to be as svelte as Joe Wicks when he was young. I think he's rolling with the punches here, so it's not really an angry kind of rant. But leave our Joe Wicks alone. Joe Wicks is a salt of the earth chap, and he cracks on with it, and he's very good, and I like him for it. What do you think? If you had to sit on one side of the room, who would you sit with, Danny or Joe? Just say Danny or Joe. Come on, we love these binary chats. Who would you want to? Joe. Oh look, Joe. A lot of Joes coming. Come on, there's got to be a Danny. Lucy Kitson, Danny. Deborah Holdsworth, Danny. Mostly Joes. I love both. I think I've got a real soft spot for Danny. I tell you what I do like. I really like that show Danny Dyer does. What's the show where he's got the thing where he has to get... I mean, I'm not in for those kind of entertainment, shiny floor shows where they do stupid things and then win money. But I love the one with Danny Dyer. There's something very watchable about it. Erin Tyler Paris, rather not sit with men. Fair dues. Do you know what? I'm exactly in exactly the same camp. Claire Rossweek, off the wall, that's it. I do Joe Wicks every day. Every day I go over there and I listen to his voice and I just go. Go. Gold-plated music, like a hard man. Melanie Tiley Tinman, The Wall, that is it, yeah. Please read, just had a pop-up news article saying after dosing error, experts question if Oxford vaccine results are real. I think there is a huge conflab about the veracity of the original study and what the numbers meant. Yeah, there is a lot of querying, isn't there? About how they got those results. Joe is far more easier, on the ear. Yeah, what does Danny think about Beckham? Yeah. They're probably friends, gold-plated music. That's what Nadia thinks. Nadia thinks they're probably going to turn up together somewhere. I think what would be fun is Joe Wicks getting Danny Dyer to completely transform his body, don't you? Oh, Epsington, there are problems with the Oxford study, apparently. Okay, well, let me just pop this. There was an interesting story in the Evening Standard about how the coronavirus risks setting back gender equality by 25 years. And just 1 second, let me just move across here. I'm just trying to find that. Oh yeah, I wrote Joe Wicks very quickly. Sorry, winging it, mummy. Thank you for your incredibly observant spelling mistake. There you go. Why don't I do it with a capital E? And you can claim responsibility for that. Sorry about that, Joe. Joe Wicks! Joe with an E! Yeah, so coronavirus pandemic could set gender equality back. While women already did disproportionately more unpaid care work and chores than men, the number has only gone up. More and more women across the 38 countries are spending more time on household chores since the pandemic began. And so there is a genuine concern that women are dropping out of the workforce at a faster rate than men. In the US, 4 times as many women have dropped out of the labour force in September alone. So, the pandemic, this pandemic can impact on things in countless different ways, can't it? So it's going to, the social fabric. I tell you who I haven't seen here for a while is Nanny Dyer. She hasn't been on these lives, actually, in the mornings. She's coming later tonight, actually. So hopefully she will be in the vlog or maybe be in tonight's night shift. You never know. Is there anything, Chrissy, that COVID hasn't affected? Absolutely not. And my biggest concern is that there's going to be a very, not even that delayed, tsunami of mental health and addiction crises coming along the way. Another story that I thought was quite intriguing was Ben Affleck talking about how he smoked one spliff when he was a teenager and had a dissociative panic attack. And I think this is an interesting story because I think we're often led to believe that things like spliff and, there's nothing harmful in just having the occasional spliff. It's like all these things, alcohol included. Most narcotics of any form, essentially, you don't know, it doesn't matter what the thing is or how potentially safe it could be. I mean, like the difference between alcohol and all other forms of drugs is that alcohol tells you on the bottle what's in it, whereas obviously most drugs, you don't know what's in them. And that's the danger. But also the other unknowable and unquantifiable is how you will react to any form of narcotic. So when you say cannabis is harmless, Jack Belton, that's utterly ridiculous because you might feel it's harmless to you, but you don't know that. And other people, for example, I had a friend who smoked just 2 spliffs at university and had to sadly pull out of college and has struggled with his mental health for the rest of his life, in and out of all sorts of institutions and what have you. So I think it's just another lesson. And at the moment, with teenagers and kids, lots of young adults turning to alcohol and turning to other substances and what have you for stimulation and distraction, once again, as we come out of this, it can we will be hitting an enormous problem. And also studies recently show, we were talking about it on the Sunday show, I think a recent study from Sweden or somewhere, or America, which did a sort of the most comprehensive assessment of cannabis, shows that it's now 25% stronger than it used to be when I was younger. So, Jack Belton, I've used it for 20 years, no issues. Aspirin, on the other hand, causes me to bleed internally. Well, Jack, that's great for you, and this is always my thing. My point is that I don't understand why, with most drugs and alcohol, if people say it works for them, they need to insist it has to work for everyone else. It's just not the case. It's just not the case. And there are what I don't agree with is saying that cannabis is worse than alcohol. I think just because alcohol is legal doesn't mean it's not as dangerous to certain people. And cannabis, equally, to some people is seen as the lesser evil. But for some people, if you have a history of schizophrenia or mental health problems in your family, it can be the worst thing. As Winging It Mummy says, everyone reacts differently to all drugs. I'm just talking about Ben Affleck's dissociative panic attack that he talked about. So, interestingly, Ben Affleck then steered, you could argue that the reason Ben steered towards alcoholism was because it was the legal choice, to turn to. I mean, a lot of people the reason a lot of people become alcoholics is because they're looking for some kind of, because it's legal. Because it's legal, so... Lucy Heaney, Ben's father died from alcohol abuse. People judge Ben too easily. Yeah, no, he's it's a real struggle for him, and of course,
such a struggle for him, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Jack Belton, it depends on underlying issues. My brother is schizophrenic and can't touch it. There you go. You see, I mean, we know many people who've had extremely negative experiences of cannabis. Steph says, a lot of news today about the manufacturing error with the Oxford vaccine. it was picked up. It was less effective at only 5% instead of the 70 to 90%. So there's a batch has been pulled off the production line. There's been a manufacturing issue. It's been a bit of a
We
balls
don't
up.
need this kind of...
I have to say, the whole Oxford vaccine thing has had a real PR disaster. It's been a PR disaster because I can often find my way through the news to find the heart of the story. I just find it all a bit, it's all a bit, and I want to believe in it, but it's a bit weird. I'm sure there is good news in there, but it keeps being obscured by terrible, terrible PR. Paulie Matthews, my dad was an alcoholic and now I don't drink because I've seen what it does. Good for you. Well done. There are always manufacturing issues with drugs, for sure, Josephine Walton.
I suppose at the moment, because everything, I suppose because I'm getting ready at the same time, I suppose at the moment because everyone's so nervous about a vaccine, and I think you're right, there will always be, with any drug that you're taking, any new drug, there's going to be these hiccups. But we just don't need to know.
No,
because
absolutely.
people are just too worried.
Yeah, there's a bit of a leaky journalisty, leaky person. Jill Lister, do you think your use of alcohol, drugs caused your mental health problems? My hubby thinks it caused my daughter's. Well, it's chicken and egg, really. I think absolutely. Yeah, I think alcohol and drugs. It's quite a simple dynamic that's at work. The reason people turn to alcohol and drugs, both recreationally but also addictively, is because it solves in the short term and calms, disturbed feelings, anxiety, issues, worries, fears, and potentially underlying mental health issues. So we all use alcohol and drugs to fix. That's why they use the word fix. It's a fix. We use it to fix, even at the lowest level. Oh, I'll have a couple of drinks after work. Oh, I'll have a glass of this to commiserate or whatever. It's always something to kind of try and manage bad feelings. Sometimes it's to amplify great feelings. But yeah, so it can not only do I think it caused, it will have aggravated underlying issues. So I will have turned to it because I felt it solved and fixed, say, anxiety or fear or worry or whatever. And then in the end, it became the thing that absolutely aggravated the problem and makes the problem even worse. Unless, and this is the horrible, pernicious part of addiction that really, really is horrible. It keeps you trapped in, because if you try and let go of the addiction, the very thing you were using the substances come back with a vengeance.
Vicious.
So a lot of alcoholics always talk, that's why you get lots of relapses, because people say, I want to stop. But the stopping is so painful and disorientating and stressful, the only thing you can think of quickly at hand is the very thing that is destroying you.
I remember when you were in rehab, they kept saying that, didn't they? We have to get everyone back to zero with what they're taking so we can work out what the issues are and then we can start to fix them.
And then you need to reprogram the brain, the heart, the social setting, which is why a lot of people who go into recovery do have massive life changes. I mean, I've ludicrously set up my own production company and then we kind of, for 12, 14, 15 years went ballistic. But part of that was about being my own boss, controlling my own space and not having to do the drinking with everyone, because it's a drink-fueled industry, like most industries are. And I needed to somehow manage my setting, in a sense. And so, I just decided to
I never thought of it like that.
Well,
never heard you say that.
Yeah, and I've talked about it a lot in AA.
Well,
I think that was one of the key reasons, was struggling with, wanting to be able to curate, if you like, my own work scenario and my own work environment, so that, and in the making of all the shows, we'd have rap dues and what have you, but I wouldn't necessarily have to go to them, or I wouldn't have to go and orchestrate them, and it wasn't bad because I was the boss and I ran the company, all that kind of stuff. So, I think we so when they look at deprogramming you, that's why you need to look for different ways of kind of managing that dis-ease, that lack of feeling comfortable. And that's why whenever I see stories about Ben Affleck, I hear these people who keep coming up in the press. The first thing I feel is absolute compassion, because...
And I love how Jennifer Garner, even though they're divorced and she would have been through hell as the wife of a using addict, last time she went and got him and took him home and helped him, because he was also the father of her kids. And she knows his genius, but also knows his,
Yeah, I mean,
weaknesses.
I was talking about my mum yesterday. My mum over the years has had, and she won't mind me saying that, she's had all sorts of problems and addictions to all sorts of things. I'm not going to go into all of them. But yeah, in the end, one of her last ones, and you could argue it's not just her last one, because we all have addictive behaviours around certain things, was alcohol, and that's why she stopped for 6 years. But yeah, no. So it wasn't. Someone just asked, was she just a social drinker because she didn't stop with rehab? No, she's actually done it off her own back, which is very hard, but also can be damaging in a different way, because you do need strategies for managing it, and you need strategy, because
really
otherwise you
hard
get
to
phrases
just
like
stop.
white knuckling, cold turkey, and all that kind of stuff. You know, there was a lot of talk about George Bush, you know, the younger. You know, he's struggled with alcohol, and there was a lot of talk around the time about how, you know, he was at times a very white-knuckling, what they call a white-knuckling recovering alcoholic. I'm not a big fan of saying that you have to go one route or another. AA worked for me at times, other things have worked for me at other times, types of therapy and what have you. But, you know, it's, so Nanny Dyer did it just by sheer force of willpower.
Amazing.
It is amazing, and that's the first move. I think she would admit that she could be helped live more comfortably with it if there was help elsewhere. But I think perhaps she feels at 70, has she got the... I mean, I say that.
Going AA. I mean,
no. I've seen,
imagine.
yeah, absolutely, and I've seen people who have relapsed in their 80s, and it's been the most painful thing to witness. So I sometimes sort of like gallows humor say, oh, well, maybe when I'm 94 I might, you know, but the pain and the agony of picking up a drink, if it was pain and agony for you in the first place, you can guarantee it will be pain and agony again. Yeah, absolutely.
Within weeks.
How did we get onto this? I suppose it's Ben Affleck and his dissociative
You don't know, I've been
panic
filming
attack.
you the whole time for the vlog.
Oh, that's
The
curious,
last 4
isn't
minutes.
it? Hello, I'm over there and I'm over here. We're filming everything that we're doing today. But I do think this is a really important message, and you wanted this story as well. The dissociative... we're very strong about this with cannabis. I do get worried that people have this sort of slightly affectionate idea of the 70s and the 60s. And it's just not like that anymore. Yeah. It's a very different landscape out there. And I think we have to revise our sense of a spliff. It's not a benign little thing that a hippie does every now and then. It just isn't.
What's that Louise saying?
Louise Jones, anyone who says weed is not addictive has never seen their son try to come off it. It was like watching someone come off very hard drugs. It was horrid. Weed is addictive. Entirely agree.
I mean, listen, anything is addictive. Mark's addicted to raisins.
Yeah, man.
Because it's just, we've got to get out of our heads what substance it is. It's about trying to fix a feeling with something outside of yourself, and that can be anything.
That doesn't mean we're anti, the medical use of cannabis. That's not anti that. And also, if you think about it, things like painkillers and all that, they are all derivatives of morphine, aren't they? So, you know, it's about managing. It's about making sure you're not using something out. To what extent do we all use something? Coffee is one of my problems. To what extent do we all use things outside of ourselves to manage our emotions? And you could argue, well, so what? Let's all just do everything. But if you do that, you've got total anarchy, haven't you? So there you go. What's the podcast topic for tomorrow? What do you hate about being a parent? It's a proper confessional.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to hit that taboo in a sort of light-hearted fashion of what really...
We love them. We know we love them, but geez.
We love them, but I really want to get up at 11:30 and pick her up. No. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, there you go, guys. There's your chat. So Nadia's on Loose Women later today.
Make sure you watch it. It's a lovely one.
Lee's with me on the coffee front. First thing I do in the morning. Same here. And I'm probably going to do it again. I've just had my green juice and I'm not addicted to that.
Lee, make sure you watch Loose today. Linda is going to be... It's so fascinating, her story.
It's going to be a corker.
Any good news, Emma Staples said?
Any good news?
Well, the good news is that the vaccines are coming and we've got our way out of here. And as John Campbell says, by December, those injections will be going into people's arms. And if we can just get... Imagine if we can just get all the vulnerable people injected by January.
Absolutely.
That's massive.
Huge.
It's huge. It's huge. When you think where we were just a month ago, and there was talk of, could we possibly be social distancing for the next 2 years? Could we possibly be... You know, this is amazing compared to where we were.
There you go. And that's the good news.
And another bit of good news, Vlogmas starts on Wednesday.
And that sends shivers down my spine.
And Mark and I are filming on Saturday.
What have we filmed?
No, Saturday we're filming.
No, I know. All right, guys, lots of love. See you later tonight.
See you tonight.
Nanny Dyer will be here tonight. Take care. Bye.